All right. Had a request from a student to make a little video on function notation. So this is for you, Shayla, and anyone who needs it. Now, if you look here, we have a lot of different equations, right? Like y equals 2x plus 1, and y equals 3x, and y equals 5x plus 2. And the thing is they all equal y, right? So if I said, okay, x equals 2, what does y equal, right? Well, if you look at that, you go, okay, so if x equals 2, y would equal 2 times 2, which is 4, plus 1, so it equals 5. Well, no, it doesn't equal that. And it's like, okay, well then it equals 6, because 3 times 2 is 6. And you're like, nope, doesn't equal that either. And you're like, okay, well 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 it equals 12. You're like, nope. Then it equals 20, because 10 times 2 is 20. You're like, yes, it equals 20. You're like, wait a minute, why does it equal 20? And not all these other things. It's like, well, I wanted you to use this function. But how would I know to use that function, right? I don't know. They all equal the same. They're all equal to y. So how am I supposed to know which one to use? So they created what is called function notation. Basically, function notation makes all the different functions have a way of categorizing it, right? So instead of y equals 2x plus 1, I'm going to call this the function f. So f of x equals 2x plus 1. And then the next one, instead of being y equals, I'm going to say this is g. Right? And then I'm going to say this one is, let's go an s for Shayla, because she asked for this video, right? And then the last one's going to be an h, right? So now I have function g, function f, and function s, and function h, right? So instead of asking what is if x equals 2, what is y equals, I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to say, all right, what does f of 2 equal? Well, that means go to the f function, and instead of an x, plug in a 2. So the f function says 2 times whatever x is plus 1. So I go, okay, so I go to the f function and I plug in a 2. 2 times 2 plus 1 equals 5. So therefore the function f, when it is 2, it will equal 5. Let's try another one. Let's go to the s. S of 3. Well, now I know I need to use the s function. Boop. And instead of an x, it's now going to be a 3. I'm going to go to the s function and plug in a 3. So this becomes 5 times 3 plus 2. Okay, well 5 times 3 is 15 plus 2. So when the s function has a 3 in it, it's going to equal 17, because 5 times 3 is 15 plus 2. Let's try one more. Let's go h of 4. Go to the h function, plug in a 4 for the x. Well, 10 times 4 is 40, right? So the h function, when there's a 4 in it, is equal to 40. That's kind of the standard way of using the function. They're just naming it something different, so you know that instead of having y equals this and y equals that, it gets a little confusing. You now know you have the f function, or the f equation, and the s equation. Okay, now let me show you something else. Okay. So now we're going to go graphing, how they use this in a different way, the function notation, graphing function notation, right? So let's say I want to graph the equation y equals, let's go 2x plus 1. Okay, well that means you start at 1 and you go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. That's y equals mx plus b, right? So it looks like this, okay? Well, instead of like using the equation y equals, they will sometimes use function notation, say f of x equals 2x plus 1. So this line is the f function. That line represents the f function, right? So like right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, this is the f function when it equals that value, right? When this is what the function will equal when it's all 4, right? So we look at this function, right? So if I said f of 2, f of 2, what does f of 2 equal? Oh, f of 2, well that means x is now 2. If I follow that 2 line up, where does it hit, right? It hits the f function right here on the y-axis, okay? So f of 2 is equal to 2 times 2 plus 1. F of 2 equals 5, right? So f of 2, that's when x equals 2, hits the f function over here when it equals 5, right? So the point here where they touch is 2, 5, because I plugged in a 2 and it spit out a 5. Okay, let's try another little example, right? Let's do another one here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's say I have the g function. G of x equals 3 minus 1/2 x, right? So I start at 3 and I go down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2. It creates this line. Well, that line is the g line. It's the g of x line. Okay, so then when it says, what does g of 3 equal? Well, x is now 3, right? So where does it hit that line? Right here. And that is equal to what on the other axis? Right there. Whatever that, g of x equals 3, right? Whatever it is. So you look at both sides to say that's the g function. I hope this helps.